All right, this is 1-5. This is about using your graphing calculator. You've probably been looking at this thing already and wondering what it does. Some of you might have even been able to add and subtract with it. Um, but the TI Inspire is an incredibly powerful tool. It's like having a small calculator in your hands and gives you an ability to do a lot of math and get good visual representations about what you're doing. So this lesson is about doing that. There's a set of activities in the lesson. As you read through it, you'll see that there's 8 of them. I'm going to go through a tutorial with you with an on-screen view of the calculator and show you button by button what you need to do in order to go through these activities. Follow along. Try to sort through stuff. If you get a little confused with it, pause and go back and see if you missed something. We'll also be doing some mini tutorials, mini lectures in class. So if there's something you want help with, get your name on the board and let me know so we can go through it. The vocabulary is, if you look at it, looks a little strange. These mean specific things related to the graphing calculator. You need to know what they mean to you. So do take a look at those, understand what that is. And as we go through this, you see we've got these various activities. The information that's in there is for a much older version of graphing calculator. So the activity, while it tells you to do this, do that, do the other thing, it's not going to help you until you get better at understanding how it translates from one to the other. So there is definitely there's info there, you just have to know what to do with it. So we will go through these. I'll go through it with you step by step. Follow along, take notes, so when you have to do this again later, and you will, you know what to do, or you can go back to your notes and look it up and figure out where it is. So we've got tables, we're comparing expressions, we're creating scatter plots with technology, a lot of different things. The end result here is you're going to have a tool that'll allow you to take some ordered pairs, equations, tables of data, and make a visual representation of it, whether it's a scatter plot, a line graph, or perhaps even a pie chart if you've got some data. So lots of cool stuff you can do with it. We're going to head on with that in the video that follows, so hang with me. Okay, this is 1-5, Activity 1, going to help you translate your CAS, your TI Inspire, into this TI-84 language that's in the text. So what we want to do is first turn on your calculator. That's the red button here. It says on, and it's got the little house on it. It'll take you to a screen. You want to get to the graph function. Now you may get there through, it may just appear, in which case you just hit B and it'll take you to graph. You might have to click on menu and go to graph from there. But we're going to go ahead and touch B. That puts us into the graph mode. And now what we want to do is to input a function for it so that we have something to graph. We go from here, we select menu. And this is going to get us to what they call the y equals menu on the graphing calculator. So menu, graph entry edit, item 3. Over there to function. Click on function or press number 1. And function puts us into this function notation, which is instead of y equals, this is f1 equals. So instead of y1 equals, it's function of x equals. They represent the same value. It's the result of doing a calculation with x. If you have some value for it, what do you get? So they represent the same thing. The function notation is phenomenally useful as we move along in math, so it's well worth getting used to using. You do need to be able to work interchangeably with y. So we'll put in our equation, x squared minus 15x. I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to press x. I'm going to take next, I'm going to put in the squaring it. This little button here, it wouldn't give me an x squared, it would just give me a square of whatever comes before it. So I need to tell it what to square first. So I got x squared. Now minus 15x. So minus, delete that, minus 15. And I put the x here. I could hit multiply or the x, but it's going to interpret that as 15 times x, just like what would happen when we do it. So now we've got our function. We want to go ahead and display it. I'm going to hit enter, and it's now kind of displayed. And this takes us to the next section here, which is the window menu on your calculator. To get to the window menu, and the window is this display we see here. This is from negative 15 to 15 for x and negative 15 to 15 for y. That's how much of the graph is being displayed. I want this graph to be as small as possible and yet display all of the areas of interest about the graph, and I'm pretty clearly missing something down here and maybe even over here too. So I'd like to see that. I'm going to go now and click on menu. From menu I go to window zoom, item 4. I could press 4 or I could just put my cursor there. Then I'm going to go to window settings. I could push 1 or move the cursor up and click on window settings. And here I see I've got my current window settings, my minimum and max. In step 4, they show us a couple of biconditional inequalities that show us what the window is. If you're asked to write a window as an inequality, step 4 shows you how to do that. So that's the lowest value. It'll be negative 10. So I'm going to delete this 15. I'm going to put in a negative. The negative button is the red button down there at the bottom, near the bottom I just clicked. It's not over by the plus minus. This is a subtraction button. So if I want a negative term, I have to use this one. So this is negative 10, and I'm going to go up to 25. So I'm going to delete that there, so that'll be 25. And now y minimum, don't worry about the scale, x scale, y scale. Leave it on auto. It'll adjust depending on how your window is set up. So I'm at this one, and that'll be a negative 70. You notice I didn't delete the negative sign. I just left it in. If you delete it again, you know where to find it. Just push the button. And this is going to be 35. So delete that and 35. Okay, so we've got our window. I'll wait for you a second. Pause this while you're getting it right. Once you're ready to go, start back up again. Okay, welcome back. Hope the window's good. We're going to click OK. OK, and now we've got a different window. And this window shows us more things of interest about a graph. For a parabola, what we care about is the vertex. We care about the roots of the parabola, which is the roots are where this graph crosses the x-axis. We call those also the x-intercepts. So we want to know about those as well. And we've got that now with our window. So that's it for activity 1. I'm going to get going in just a second with activity 2. If you have enough information and you can do it on your own, that would be great. Go ahead and do that. Move ahead if you need to look for some more answers. Get back to a video with me and take a look at it. But the quicker you get comfortable with how to use these calculators, the better it'll be for you. They are phenomenally powerful. We are going to make use of them, and you should be able to get there fairly quickly with a couple of tutorials. Thanks. See you at activity 2. All right, we're getting ready for activity 2. You'll see that activity 1 is still up on my screen. I just wanted to show you real quick this idea of the scale. That's in this discussion in the this last paragraph here. And for the TI Inspires, they do show you a scale, and here it's showing me that the scale for X is 1 unit. That's why that 1 is right there. That the scale for Y is in units of 5. So this goes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 35? I think that's 30, 35. I've cut a little bit off up there. So that would be our scale that way, and then our scale down to here. So that's our scale. Now let me go ahead and clear this out of here. I'm going to go back. I got to go to menu. We're going to go to actions. And at actions, I'm going to go to delete all. And I'm going to say yes. And I've wiped it out. We're on to activity 2. We want to go to the y equals menu. Remember, y equals. I hit menu. Go to graph entry edit. Function. Back to f of 1 of x equals. And they've given me something to enter in there, which is a negative 7x squared. Negative 7x squared. And I'm going to add to that 3x. And lastly, I will subtract 4 from that. So I got a negative 7x squared plus 3x minus 4. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And I've now displayed my graph. And they've asked that we change the window here. So go to the window menu, enter the settings. So we'll go back to menu, window settings. I'm going to put in a negative 3 and then 3. So that's my, again, I have this double inequality that represents that. The minimum value shown is negative 3. The maximum is 3. That can be written as an inequality as a negative 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3. Okay, y minimum is negative 25. So negative 25. And y maximum is 0. Okay. So we've got that in. Now, what they also wanted us to put in is a scale. So they want the x scale to be 1. So I'm going to go here to enter a value, and I'm going to put in a 1. And my y scale is going to be 5. I'm going to enter my value, put in 5. So now I've set it. You'll notice that it was what it was before with the automatic one, but that was for the other graph. So this is forcing it to have a certain scale. And now we're going to click OK. And we have our new graph. Now your graph should look kind of like this one once you've gotten to this point. If it doesn't, go back and just double check that you input things correctly and see whether that's going to work out for you. Okay, that is activity 2. Now let's go ahead and take a look at, well, we'll look at activity 3 in just a second. I'll pause this one. Okay, let's roll on. We're on to activity 3. We want to clear out our previous work, so I'm going to go into menu, actions, delete all. Yes, I've now got a clean slate. I want to input my new function, menu, graph entry, function, and here I've got a fraction I need to put in here. So we want to be careful about how we do that to make sure that the order of operations happens correctly. So I'm going to put in 5, and then I would like to divide that by this next term, and I want to make sure I divide it by x squared plus 1, not just x squared. So I need a parentheses. So I'm going to go over here and put my open parentheses, and I'm going to put in my x squared, and that's going to be plus 1, and I'm going to close my parentheses. So this makes sure if I didn't put these in, then what would have happened, this would have been 5 divided by x squared, then that result would have 1 added to it, and that's not what we wanted here. Okay, we've put it in. Now to graph it, we press our enter, and there we are. No graph. Well, maybe we need to change the window. So we'll go to zoom. So we press menu. We go to 4, Windows Zoom, and there's this zoom box, zoom in, zoom out, standard, quadrant 1, yeah. Keeps going. We want zoom standard, so we go down to number 5. We click zoom standard, and now we can see, yes, there is a graph there, and we can see it. And here is our standard scale window for this particular graph. Now, what you need to do for step 4 is to fill in the blanks for these biconditional inequalities. What are they? And then what is the scale that's being used for your graph? There may be some differences between your graphs, depends on the exact model of TI Nspire you have, but roughly it should be like this. Your graph should look like this. So go ahead and pause this recording and take a minute to, in your notes, make a copy of the graph in the window and then write down your answers to step 4. Okay, welcome back. What you should have had for step 4, at least what I've got on mine, is for x is negative 10 to 10, so that's pretty easy. And then for y, I have negative 6.43 to 6.43. You might have something different in yours. That's okay, but it should be similar to this in its appearance. Okay, let's get on with activity 4. And this is one of identifying different windows and trying to get good about how do you get the right window, because that really is a skill that you're going to develop as you go through this. So we're going to clear out this equation. Again, actions, delete all, yes, menu, function, we got a new equation. So this is 5 times x, 5x, open parentheses, that's this button over here, x plus 4, x plus 4, close parentheses, open parentheses, x minus 3. Now it's possible, depending on your tool, you might have to put some multiplication symbols in between these parentheses. Let's see what ours does. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. So it didn't like it. Let's see what's... Okay, so we see that it input 5 times x, and then the x plus 4 times x minus 3, but there's no multiplication symbol between the x and the parentheses, and I'm going to have to put one in there. So x times that, and now I can hit enter, and I get my graph. So here's my first graph. This is the window that I had, and it's asking us to match up the graph with the windows that we have here, windows 1, 2, 3, and 4, and which one of them matches up to this particular one here. And so we'll go ahead and let's take a look at that. We'll put in window 1. So we go to menu, window, settings, and that would be negative 6, to 6, and negative 100. Wow. Negative 100 to 150. And it wants the x scale of 1 and a y scale of 25. Click OK. Alright, so which one is it? Pretty easy to see, I think. We've got our scale. So now for window 2, it's asking us to do negative 2.8 and negative 2.1. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab this graph. You see this turn to like a hand. If I click and hold, or if you hit control click and then you can use your cursor, and we're going to move that along, and you can see we're getting a smaller and smaller value for our window. We're changing this window in the x direction and in the y direction as well. Okay, I'm about negative 2.78. They wanted negative 2.8. And then my next one was, let's see, for y, I'm going to do it this way. I think it's easier for me. Just wanted to show you could use just a grab and go. So we'll make this negative 2.8, and this next one was a negative 2.1, negative 2.1, and for y was 40 and 145. 40, 45, and what's our scale? X scale is 0.1, and the Y scale is 10. Got our new graph. So here we can see this is clearly which one it is. So you tell me which one that matches with. That's our next window. Let's go ahead to window 3, and we'll go in to, oh, this just looks like the standard window. So let's do a window zoom standard, and I get my standard window. They show it as a negative 10, 10, negative 10, 10, and that's true as the standard window for the TI-84s. It varies a little bit among the Inspires, but I got mine here, and pretty easy to see which window that one looks like for number 3. Okay, again, if I'm moving along too quick, you can pause me, come back when you're ready to proceed. You can always rewind and replay something if you didn't get it the first time. So window 4, menu, window zoom, window settings. I'm going to go negative 30 to 30, and negative 500 to 500. And it should be easy. So X scale is 5, Y scale is 100. Click OK. And we've got our final graph, and this is the one that actually probably gives us a good sense of it. I think graph 2 gave us that as well. So this was activity 4. Next up, we're coming into activity 5. Activity 5 asks us to graph at right, shows us this particular graph. It gives us all the info on it, and we're going to use the trace commands to verify answers to step 1. And we want to find out where it crosses the x-axis. So menu, actions, delete all. Yes. Menu, graph entry, function. So we're back to our y equals x squared minus 15x. Y equals x squared minus 15x. Graph our function. Our window is negative 10 to 20. So negative 10, 20, our x, it's not giving us a scale, so we'll go with auto. And then y minimum is a negative 100 to 100. And again, we'll go to auto scale. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and graph this thing. Now the question they're asking you is, what are the roots of this parabola? In other words, where does it cross the x-axis? So you're looking at this and you're going to make some determination about where is it crossing here and what's the value when it crosses there. So that's the first way you might do something like this. Now we can go in and see if we can find another way. We can go to the trace command by clicking menu and graph trace or trace all. We want to go to graph trace, and now we've got our cursor here that I can move along by clicking up on my cursor bar. I want to go from left to right, not up and down. Up and down would take me from one line to another. And you can see that it's showing the function value. F of 1 is, at this point, is 5.7 and negative 53. Well, I want to know what it is right here. I got a pretty good idea what it's going to be, but you tell me what you guessed. And then verify it by sliding it on over until it gets to what we've got there. So F of 1, and it tells me what that's going to be. Now I'm going to go the other way. And we'll slide on over. And I'm at 0, so my y is 0, and it tells me now what x is, so 15 and 0. Now it's asking you for step 3 to take this equation, this is pencil and paper, and substitute the values in for the two different places where it crossed. Does it in fact result in the function or y equaling 0 when you put in those x values? So that's what you're going to do for step 4. For activity 5. Okay, lesson 1-5. This is activity 6. Might look real complicated as we look at it, but let's look at how to interpret it. First guess has got to be, well, where do I go from here? I've got my equation in there. I have my graph. Well, I think I'm going to look at menu. Go to menu, and all right, there's item 7 is tables. So I got one choice, a split screen table. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And hey, there I've got it. I got my graph, my equation, my function, and my table. It's asking us to start this one at -10 and have the table increment by 1. So this is x is 1 and f of x is -14. So I'm going to find some negative values. Okay, so here's -10 and it's at 250. So I kind of have the ability right away to look at what they're talking about, but it increments by 1. So we've got that, and we got a table that'll pretty much will look like what's over there. Let's go back in though, and for step 6 in this activity in table setup, what if we want to change the increment, or we want to come more directly to a starting point? Well, let's take a look at what we can do. Where do we go? We click on menu. So I click on menu. Hey, I've only got 2 choices, actions and table. So let's try table. And remove table, delete, choose, edit. Okay, edit table settings. That's looking like table setup. So edit table settings. Okay, here we go. We got our table start. They want us to start it at 2, and they like for us to increment the table by, so the delta table that they have there means how does it change, and so that's the table step. And we're going to change by 3, and we'll click OK. And here's our table, and we've got this incrementing by 3s from 2 to 5 to 8 to 11. and it asks us to write down what appears here. Now in this case we've got a table that'll just go forever, so we're just interested in just a few lines to indicate that you've got what should be there. Step 7, scroll to where x equals -4, so I'm going to go, and what do we have there? It's asking what's your value at that point. And down to where x is 35, so way down here I got x, at x is 35 I've got a value. That's activity 6. That's taking our function and showing us that this function can be broken up into sets of ordered pairs that describe this curve. They can be at one step. That step could be even smaller still if we wish to do that. Any one that we choose to do, we could get this particular graph out of this tool. Okay, let's carry on. We're going to get to activity 7. So we want to go ahead and clear this stuff out of here. I'm going to go to graph. I want to remove the table, and I'd like to just get rid of this. Okay, we're back to a good spot. Let's go ahead and create a standard window here for this activity. So I'm going to go into Windows Zoom, Zoom Standard, and I've got my standard window. Now we're being asked to compare two expressions, and this means we have to get two functions in there. Pretty easy to do. We again start with menu, graph entry edit, function. And I'm going to put in this first one, x minus 3 squared, so open parentheses, x minus 3, close parentheses, I square that. I want to hit enter. I want to graph this thing. Okay, so I've got that one graphed. Now I go back to menu. I'm going to press 3 for graph entry edit. I'm going to press 1 for function. And I see here it says f2 of x. So this is the second function of x. It's a different function. And so we've got the 2 versus the 1. And I'll put in x plus 3 squared. So open parentheses, x plus 3, close parentheses, square that, press enter. Okay, I've got my two graphs. It asks us now to do some evaluation with that, and asks for give the coordinates of the intersections of the two graphs. This is step 2 and step 3 with the x-axis. So the coordinates is an ordered pair. It's not it's not asking you just what is the x value. It's asking you for both the x and the y value. But more importantly with this is using technology, we're comparing these two expressions, and we can easily see by looking at this that these graphs are not equivalent. Equivalent meaning that they are the same graph. Therefore, we can conclude that they are not equal to each other and in fact are different. Now there could be a point where they do intersect, and if I slide this down, we can see that indeed there is a point here where the two graphs cross each other, and that is not uncommon to occur, but that means there's just one point where they have shared values. Beyond that, they won't cross again. Okay, let's take a look now at activity 8, and this is creating scatter plots with technology. And with this, we can use an input of data to create plots. Now you remember what a scatter plot is, that we'd had that before. If you don't remember what a scatter plot is, look it up. You need to know what that means and why it's different from just a line plot. So we're going to have to clear any equations that we have. So we want to go ahead and here into menu, actions, delete all. Okay, let's carry on with this. We're on to activity 8. This is creating scatter plots with technology. Caution you on this to be careful with data entry. That's really where the mistakes occur, is as you're putting numbers into it. In the Inspire, it's actually pretty straightforward. We're going to go to Graph. We've been there before, so we'll touch B from the home screen. And we're back to this screen, and well, of course, we go to Menu. And in Menu, we're going to take a look at Graph Entry Edit. So we'll go to there, and now we see we have these different things. Well, what do we want here? We want a scatter plot. So this is going to get us to this entry point as well as putting us right onto a graph screen. So a little bit, well, quite a bit different from what we're seeing here on the other screen. So down to 5, scatter plot. And now we see this entry area. And here's where the kind of the simple trick to creating a list is to go ahead and we're going to enter all the X values and all the Y's, but we have to first tell it that this is a set of ordered pairs to be used to do these scatter plots. And to do that, we're going to put in the bracket. So we're going to hit Control on the screen, and we're going to come down here to the close parentheses button because that's where the brackets are. And now we can see I've got brackets in place and I have an entry field. So from this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter all of my X data. So 2 and then a comma in between. So 2 comma 5 comma -7 comma and lastly 3. Okay, so I've got my X values in, and now I want to put my Y values in, and I need to do it in the same way, so that the ordered pairs match up, or else I'm going to get some confusion. So Control, down to the bracket button, got my bracket. Now I'm going to put my Y values in. So I have 2 and 6, so I put in 6 comma -1 comma -4. Okay, I've got everything in there. Let's see what happens. We'll hit the enter button. Alright, so we have scatter plot number 1. I got a couple of points showing, but I had more than that. I had 4 points. And so this is where really the activity gets to here is, well, what's a good window for this? For my X values, I want the smallest value to be a little bit smaller than the smallest X value. So let's go into Menu, Window Zoom, Window Settings. So -9, that's an odd number. We're just going to make it -10. How's that? So -10. So a little bit less than -7. And my max, this 10 is a little high. I could probably make this 8. You might have a different choice. It's up to you. But don't make it 5, because otherwise that point will be on the edge of the screen and it's hard to see. So I want to be a little bit bigger than 5. So I'm a little smaller than my smallest and a little bigger than my biggest. And I'm going to do the same for the Y values. So my minimum was -4, so maybe we'll make this a 6. How about a -6? And my largest value for Y is 10. 15 could work, but I'm going to go with 12. So what I've done is I've taken my data and allowed that to guide me in setting up my results. And here we go. Now I've got it. I've got all 4 points for the scatter plot are available to be seen. I've set up my new window and I'm ready to go with it. So this is what it takes to be able to create a scatter plot with technology using the TI Nspire. It's really easy to do. You just have to know how to get in and do things right. Remember to use not parentheses, but the brackets here on the right side. Those are the right brackets to be using. Okay, your assignment for lesson 1-5 is to cover the ideas and applying the mathematics. Once you're done with that, bring in your information, bring your notes. I want to take a look. and we'll get you ready to do the mastery quiz. Good luck. See you for 1-6.